We are live. What a better way to end 2023 than with a great conversation with someone who needs no introduction. Welcome, everybody. Oscar here to a special live with one and only Ken Timsit, Managing Director of CRONOS Chain. Please go ahead and give it a round. How you doing, Ken? Welcome.
Hi, Edgar. Thank you for having me. And good evening, good morning, good afternoon to your audience as well. Good to be
Incredible,
here.
Ken. Thank you so much. So, everyone, we understand it's been a challenging, a difficult, and an eventful year 2023. So that's what we're here to open up, have conversations and questions and answers. Please go ahead and take a look at the chat. Do me a favor and smash like buttons. Consider subscribing to the channel because here we're trying to bring you the latest value, the content, and the people who know, right? Because we are the ones who are learning, they are the ones who are building and bringing the people together. That's what we want, especially for a chain like Chronos. That you know me. We've seen this chain for the last 2+ years. There's a lot of conversations ahead. People are concerned about X, Y, and Z transactions, liquidity, projects, innovation, AI, TVL. The list goes on and on. Probably it's gonna be impossible to make everybody happy, and I think that's a yes. But when you have answers and people that are facing the problems, I think that's what I really care. So, everybody, if you want, take a look at the links down below. I'll put Ken socials down there, and please go ahead and feel free to post your questions and share this with the crew fam on Twitter and everywhere you see. And little bit of audio on your side, Ken.
Oh, okay.
There you go. Thank you so much. And to start, there's a lot that's been going on right now in the last couple of days. In fact, to everybody, in full disclosure, we agree on this conversation about a month ago. And I think I had pivoted my questions, now addressing some of the major concerns that Chronos holders have seen. You've seen, Ken, the Chronos burns, you've seen the AI innovation, you've seen transactions, you've seen the CKEVM news, everything. I wonder what's going on in your mind right now, Ken, with you're seeing everything that the chain is doing and how blockchain technology is moving ahead. What's keeping you busy? Because I'm pretty sure there's a lot in your head.
So when I look at the year that is about to finish, of course, I think that we shouldn't sugarcoat the situation, right? So I'm disappointed by the lack of progress that we have been able to make as an ecosystem, and not just Chronos, but crypto. I can understand the reasons why the ecosystem has plateaued or moved backwards. High interest rates, war in Ukraine, war in Israel and Palestine, an extremely aggressive stance against crypto by quite a few key members of the US government. And so I can also understand why some people are frustrated and angry. When I look at developers, it takes just as much work to keep a product going when the TVL is 350 million or when it's 3.5 billion. And when I look at users, it's the same. You need to just like keeping yourself on top of crypto news requires as much effort and attention when everything is moving up as when crypto prices and your investments are moving sideways. So for sure, the feeling at the end of this year is not a feeling of joy or accomplishment. It's a feeling of disappointment. However, it's also a feeling of hope, of course, because I think that we have a promising 2024 ahead of us, partly driven by the improvement in macroeconomic conditions, partly driven by the expecting halving of Bitcoin, And I think when I look at how the CRO token and the metrics of the chain have moved in November and December, which is up, it suggests that when there is stimulus, the chain and the ecosystem are able to pick up the pace and regain momentum. And so that makes me hopeful that when the market recovers next year, CRONOS and the dApps that are members of this ecosystem will also be able to regain momentum, and people will again be very excited and optimistic about what's happening. But it's crypto. I mean, crypto is very much a financial services sector. It is the same and has always been the same that when prices are moving down or sideways, everything follows and is quite gloomy. And for sure, CRONOS hasn't been an exception.
Thank you, Ken, for that. I mean, look, there's something I wasn't expecting you to say, and that is the disappointment you have. That's kind of, I mean, that's the first one that I hear you speak, but you've been more vocal. I think you've been, talking a little bit more on the socials, and I think you're seeing the response from the people that if you as the blockchain director manager, right, of CRONOS, you're seeing the trends. Definitely, I think that's putting some frustration in people, which is normal. But one could also say, wait for 2024, wait for 2025. We are ending this bear market, this consolidation, this, I will say, just pre an early bull market. And one can say when Bitcoin halving comes, when the ETFs comes, I mean, I see, of course, regulations and what's happening in the US, but better times are ahead. I think we both can agree to that. Guys, if you're watching this as well, go ahead and share it with everybody. And we thank everybody for being here. And I see your comments as well and questions. If we have some time at the end, we'll be around about 1 hour and we'll take some of them. Appreciate you guys. Now, because we passed many different, I will say, milestones that we're watching, 100 million transactions now on CRONOS. That is big. I see everybody retweeting it when it happened. Members of the crypto.com community, members of the CRONOS chain community. That's something that speaks volumes for our ecosystem after 2+ years. What do you think about that, Ken? Do you think that is in good time, 2+ years, having 100 million transactions? Can we expect more? And that's going to be my segue into, obviously, the transaction conversation that I think a lot of people want to hear.
Those milestones are important. So this year we celebrated 10 million blocks, then 2 years of CRONOS, then 100 million transactions. And to build on what you were saying earlier, of course, I'm hopeful. I want to encourage everyone who is listening to us today to be patient and wait until next year. And in a way, those celebrations are important because they remind us that we're keeping the course. We continue to build, of course, not just CRONOS Labs, but the entire ecosystem. And so it's important to celebrate good times. So I think that's what those milestones are. They are important to keep us together as a community. I definitely am hopeful and positive in general about life and about CRONOS. But it would be tone deaf for me to ignore also what people are saying when they're saying that for them personally, the year has been challenging.
Agree. There's obviously a lot of things going on, and actually, just making some references. We've seen what happened to Solana last year and earlier this year, the shutdowns, the pauses, and now we're seeing Solana doing actually well, which is nice, right? I mean, we want blockchain to continue regardless what the name of the blockchain is. And I've also seen CRONOS back in the bull market at $4.5 billion, Steve. I'm like, whoa, this is incredible. And I remember being in those times, and now we're 50+ million. And we're like, okay, everything that I think is happening right now should have an impact in the future. Now, the transactions and the fees and the questions that I think, this is just what the community tells me, right? As someone who is a CRONOS chain ambassador and it's creating value for this community. Starting December 12th, I see it because I did my research and I see the numbers. It spiked a lot to a number that I never seen before, and I'm always checking that. And it went through the all-time high in the entire history of CRONOS, all the way to December 19 or so. The average transaction TPS is roughly 70,000. You know better than anyone. We are back at 70,000 today. Actually, I just checked it. For someone who is not on Twitter or just watching videos, or it just cares about their crypto.com wallet and DeFi wallet, can you tell them a simple explanation, right, of what happened, what do we do, and how are we working right now towards finding a common solution to this?
So what happened on December 12th was that a group of influencers and key opinion leaders who have been promoting, inscriptions across multiple chains, set their sights on CRONOS and started encouraging their users and community members to mint inscriptions on CRONOS. So what are inscriptions? They are essentially a different type of NFT that does not rely on smart contracts. The minting of inscriptions only requires you to make a transaction to yourself, so it's very cheap because you don't use any of the compute that the chain is able to run through smart contracts, and because it is so cheap, people are encouraged to mint millions and millions of them at a cost which for individual minters is extremely small. Like meme coins before, inscriptions have taken the world of crypto by storm. Like I said, I think this group of key opinion leaders had been active on other chains before. They set their sights on CRONOS, and as a result, the chain saw more than 20 million transactions happening in a short period of time. This led to a short disruption of the block explorer. Then people started being concerned that perhaps the chain had stopped working. That was absolutely not the case. So the chain continued to work as expected, but several infrastructure tools like the block explorer were not able to catch up. And so as a result, together with the protocol engineering team, we've upgraded the network twice last week in order to make the chain more responsive to demand, so that when there is a lot of transactions, gas prices increase, and vice versa, when user demand decreases, gas prices decrease. And when we look at the curves of transactions per, when we look at the curves of block utilization, we see very clearly that once those upgrades were passed, there was a very clear feedback mechanism that encouraged users to occupy roughly 25 to 50% of the blocks, therefore leaving space for everyone else to also do transactions for their other needs, DeFi and other. However, of course, one of the implications of that was that transaction fees went up quite significantly. Gas price went up more than 10 times at peak. And so that was a surprise and was inconvenient for many users. It's not particularly new. It's something that happens on all chains in one way or the other. That's one of the reasons why CRONOS exists. It's because back in 2021, Ethereum was in high demand and transaction costs sometimes reached $50 to $100 for complex transactions. And so, of course, that was inconvenient. However, we said at the time, it's not going to last long, and indeed, it didn't last long. So the situation is resolved now in the sense that transactions are at an acceptable level. Fees are back to the newly programmed minimum. What is unfortunate is that this project has decided to shut down and turn their attention again to yet another chain, leaving many users holding the bag. I'm sure that the void will be filled soon by other projects, and that there will be a functioning ecosystem of applications for inscriptions. But at the moment, there are indeed many users who followed the trend and are now left with assets that they don't really know how to monitor. One last criticism that I've heard a lot is, validators have made a lot of money through that crisis. And indeed, part of the changes that we've done is we've increased the minimum gas price from 5,000 GUE to 10,000 GUE, which means that in practice, for a basic transaction going forward, transaction fees are twice as high as they were before. Nothing is set in stone. The team and the validators need to continue to monitor the situation and adapt to changing market conditions. But what I really want to highlight is that validator economics are absolutely crucial so that the chain is around 1 year, 5 years, 10 years from now. Contrary to popular belief, validators have not done their best month ever. They made much more money in 2021 and 2022 when we were in a bull market, and they decided to support the chain. Since then, validators have kept the course, remained with us, even though in some months, validator revenue was between $500 and $1,000, which is absolutely not enough to run a validator. So it's important to make sure that the economics make sense for validators. And that is one of the reasons why we should have a holistic perspective when looking at transaction fees.
Appreciate that, Ken. It really affects everything. What you're saying right now, obviously, I mean, I think the first day that this issue happened, you immediately started tweeting descriptions and you gave all the explanations so people would notice. But I think a lot of the users that I'm hearing nowadays, they just look at the transaction fee and they're like, well, I left Ethereum to come to CRONOS and I'm paying this. Well, obviously, that's not what I want to see. And do something about it today, not tomorrow, but I want an answer right now. And if I don't have it right now, then CRONOS is trash. I'm not saying, I'm just putting the words that I'm seeing online. And I mean, on Twitter, things get a little bit hairy. And I've also saw a response somebody gave to you, right? When you're like, go out and touch grass because, I mean, there's more to blockchain. And I do understand. I think, there's all kinds of issues right nowadays. Just to mention, well, nah, I'm not going to mention because I don't want to put him in the spotlight, right? But there are some projects that when they say something and they don't fulfill it, there's an issue. One of the things that I appreciate, I think on behalf of the Crow fam, is that this happened and immediately you guys gave the face and told us what was going on. I saw when you posted, yeah, the upgrade is here. Now you say it was twice. So seems that the validators, the engineers of CRONOS and you, I mean, specifically, you are working on stuff to get something out for us because we definitely want to continue. There's 350 million TBL. I think the accelerator, which that's another topic I want to get into, it's wanted to bring more of these protocols to CRONOS, and they require a good validator system and I think infrastructure to make this happen. So you're telling me right now that the fees should already be back to normal, or they're working towards that. So for those who are still seeing a few of them, one of the questions I'm seeing a lot, in my channels is customer service, taking along, it's taking this, they're not replying to me. So that's just kind of like the voice of the community to think about, right? I mean, maybe something, but I think I appreciate you replying to those concerns as well. There's so many different questions to do here, and that's good. Pivoting to my next stage, the EVM, the ZK EVM partnership that you guys announced. But that's something that I was reading through it, and there's obviously a lot of things going on. But it's gonna be the first public hyperchain testnet based on the ZK stack. For someone who is non-tech, who is watching and who's looking in to the future of holding CRONOS, because it's a new chain, right? But on the tweet, you also said it's still CRONOS, and we have this ambition, which is just multi-chain. Can you tell us a little bit about how you're seeing it and envisioning it for us at CroFam?
So CRONOS is a multi-chain ecosystem. We already have CRONOS POS, which is the new name of the crypto.org chain, and CRONOS, which is the name of the CRONOS EVM chain. And indeed, next year, we are planning to launch a third chain called CRONOS ZK EVM. We're hoping to launch it in mainnet by June 2024. Right now, it's just a testnet, meaning that people can get a glimpse of what it looks like, but really the testnet is more for developers than for end users. So why are we launching yet another chain? So the primary and overriding reason is even though the ZK technology is still not mature and is at this point not able to deliver transaction throughputs that are higher than CRONOS currently, there is in the community a strong argument that is made that with all the investments going into that ZK technology, it could be the solution to the scalability problems for all EVM chains. And so as an important protocol team, it is absolutely essential that we get our hands dirty with that technology, participate in its development, so that if indeed it becomes the solution to all scalability problems for EVM chains, we master it and are able to use it any way we want. Secondly, one thing that has been frustrating for us in the last 2 years has been the availability of secure bridges, secure cross-chain bridges, and particularly to Ethereum. Everyone knows that CRONOS has been rather conservative when it comes to endorsing or promoting third-party bridges. The plans to go live with the Gravity Bridge have been put on hold for now due to the lack of adoption and I guess peer security reviews of that particular technology. And we've been able to do that. We've been able to hold off on promoting bridges because we are lucky enough that users can still come in and out of the chain through crypto.com. But of course, not having a bridge has been a frustration for us and has been a bottleneck when it comes to attracting more liquidity and users into the ecosystem. And so what's great with the ZK, the second thing that's great with ZK technology is that it enables a chain to have direct access to Ethereum through a natively secure bridge that is secured by Ethereum. And so that it solves that problem. So those are the two overriding reasons why we felt that there was an opportunity to launch an additional chain. As I said, ZK technology is still not very mature, and it doesn't perform better yet than CRONOS. So CRONOS, as it is today, will continue to exist and will continue to receive investments and attention. At the same time, we'll experiment with that new chain with models that are more innovative and perhaps a bit more risky in terms of their technical underpinnings. So on Twitter, I commented about how we're going to try and use yield-bearing tokens and account abstraction as really the two differentiating features of that new chain. it's not straightforward at all to implement those things. And having kind of an experimental chain where we can do that kind of thing will be extremely beneficial to the ecosystem, while at the same time maintaining CRONOS as it is today as a fully safe, reliable playground where people know exactly what they have and what apps they can enjoy.
Appreciate that, Ken. I mean, so what I'm hearing here is what you're trying to do what the team is trying to do is obviously recognize the trends of, okay, this technology might have something for us to make us different than other EVM chains. And if we are part of the first ones to do it and implement it and get to know it and try it, obviously having CRONOS chain as our first priority, right, with the Crow fam. Well, let's go ahead and see how it can help us. Currently, right now, 11 position by TVL, passed by Base and Cardano. Cardano recently has seen a spike on TVL, which is awesome for all of them. I think more people, that's the trend that is coming up. What do you make of, in a way, having 10 more chains passing CRONOS? What do you think they have that we don't have yet? I mean, I know it's an open question, right, to speculation, right? But I think after being with this chain for, watching, learning, as I often do with other ones, but I think more closely to CRONOS, and I see the comments, right? And I'm just trying to be the voice of the community. That's it. People say, well, it's been a while. Why we haven't broken that top 5 that in the 2022 medium, right? We saw that we want to break top 5, and that's fine. But there's been some challenges. Is it what you're doing right now with the CK EVM and all of these upgrades, the goal to get much higher and pass these chains?
It's very hard to go up in the rankings when the market, when you can't surf the wave of the market. And so it has definitely been the case for CRONOS. I think it's fair to assume that none of the chains that are above or below us in the rankings are happy with their TVL in absolute value anyway. So everyone's goal is to increase the number of daily active users as well as the TVL. That remains something that we as a team discuss daily and weekly. That's all we focus on. I do think that there are investment and yield opportunities on CRONOS that deserve to be better known. Sometimes when I see how attractive some of the yields and protocols are on CRONOS, and I relate that to the current TVL, to me, in my mind, there's a disconnect. I feel that we should do more to make those protocols known. So just right now, if I look at, on Vino, with Vino, you have the liquid CRO, which is naturally yield bearing for people who want to hold a CRO. The TVL of Vino is a very small fraction of the total amount of CRO available in the market, and I don't understand why more people don't use Vino. Then you look at other protocols in DeFi like Fulcrum, VVS, which just launched V3 farms this week. Those offer pretty safe and attractive yields for blue chip assets like Ethereum and stable coins. And then I look at more experimental or I guess high risk projects like Catching or Corgi AI, and the yields or the risk return profiles offered by those dApps are very attractive and certainly could compete at the very top of protocols that are on other chains. So I think those protocols deserve to be better known. Sometimes I feel that there's a disconnect between what they offer and the TVL invested in them. And I think with the website that we launched earlier this year called discover.cronos.org, and through our communication with the ecosystem, we're trying to put the spotlight on those projects so that they are better known. Another, of course, important priority for increasing TVL is connectivity to other chains. As I explained before, connectivity to EVM chains and Ethereum is complicated because it's quite risky outside of transfers through crypto.com. But we've been working hard to establish new bridge connections to Cosmos chains. We recently launched Kento, Iris, and Celestia, with more to come. So that's another way to enable more funds to join the chain. And finally, I would like to say that, of course, TVL is important, but another important metric is daily active users and weekly and monthly active users. And I would like to recognize the contribution that Ebis Bay and a number of NFT collections that are at the top of their rankings. So I would like to recognize the contributions of those projects in driving up the number of daily active users on CRONOS. I would like to recognize also innovations launched by projects like Single Finance, who launched some new yield farming vaults that were oversubscribed in 5 minutes. So there's still a lot happening, a lot that is very attractive. And I think that more people should know about it. And I encourage all of you who are listening to be evangelists of CRONOS and make sure that people know about those opportunities.
Yeah, you touch on something very important, which is the awareness of, the technology that we already have. It's somewhat difficult when you hear, what the top chains are doing and what they're doing, because you already have the audience of billions of people with Binance and then Ethereum and then AVX and more. But I completely agree. I think I've seen more frequent the connections, the Twitter Spaces, those platforms and other different CRONOS ambassadors trying to bring more eyeballs to CRONOS for GameFi, for DeFi, for AI. Which, by the way, you crafted a nice article, 600 different applicants, right, for the CRONOS accelerator. What's super important in 2023, the AI factor of how CRONOS is using that, which involves the community growing. And you said about Beno liquid staking. Why are people not using that? And what I've heard from my audience is they just prefer to stake it in the DeFi wallet. That's kind of like what it's the most common thing to do now, looking at the validators, right? But we also have borrowing, supplying on Tectonic. We could do VPS. We could do Beno. There's so many different options, which is good. And in a way, this is just me speculating, it's gonna help that crypto.com brings more users and that pivots to CRONOS chain as we get into DeFi. I think that's at the end of the day, it's gonna be a good way of filtering more. Lately, because this happened early or like late November, and now finally it's done, the burns, right? Burns that obviously, I saw the push from CRONOS chain, the NFT mint and everything, Liam trying to get everybody excited. I know because we talked about it before in our previous conversation that the burns, that's something that you guys don't do that, but that's something that you're like, okay, great. Go for it. It helps with the emissions. So it's something that everybody saw it. For the circulating supply perspective, like you told me before, there's not like a stash there ready to be burned, but it kind of helps obviously for what the engineers said. What do you think about that, the burns? And obviously that's going to be 100 million per year. 50 are done right now. Millions of dollars gone. Now more as we conclude this period. It's something that, the CROFAM is watching. It's something that the CROFAM should be paying attention to much. And in like what angle should we see it?
As you pointed out, and for clarity for anyone listening, so I'm not involved in CRONOS POS chain. I'm just working on CRONOS EVM chain, and as a result, I'm not involved in the governance or in the burn. However, I would be glad to share some perspectives. So I think that so celebrating the fact that the burn happened was important, in my view, to show that when the governance of the POS chain says, we're going to do something, they do it. At the time, there was a lot of feud people are saying the validators are just going to stash the CRO in a wallet and use it for something else. Obviously, that doesn't happen. I think it's great to see that everyone acts with integrity, and when the chain says that something is going to happen, it does happen. I want to offer, so the issue of the burn is a bit complex. There are many perspectives that need to be taken into account with respect to what's going to happen next. Because for someone who's been following what's happening on the POS chain, you may have noticed that the value of staked CRO on the CRONOS POS chain has increased very significantly. And the result of that is that it has driven mechanically the APY of the CRO staked down. So at the time when the burn was planned, I think the APY was some 12 or 13%. Now it's 8%. And you can see that on, I think the best website to see that is, what's it called? MintScan?
Oh yeah, MintScan.
Yeah, MintScan. So I think now the context, the economic context for the CRO has changed in the sense that we were a few months ago in a situation where there were too many emissions leading to overly generous APY and too much inflation. We are in the opposite context now, where APYs have decreased very significantly, and if that continues, the APYs may not be sustainable to keep the validator ecosystem running. And so as a result, it may be necessary for that chain to increase inflation again. So we'll see what happens, but it's a dynamic situation. I think what people should take away from this is that chain, the economic equilibrium of a chain is not trivial at all. It requires constant adjustments. We've seen that on CRONOS with transaction fees and how we've dealt with the inscriptions demand. I think we'll see that also on CRONOS POS chain, and we are necessarily going to have to see adjustments in inflation to reflect changing conditions. It's just a complex problem. It's important that people don't react with too much passion and take the time to consider the facts.
Appreciate that, Ken. Yeah, I mean, when you see the APY going lower, lower, and lower because more people are coming, they're like, okay, I'm not making any money as a staker. Then the validator, imagine them. They're like, okay, come on, this is not even sustainable. But like you're saying, I mean, trends are changing. It's not like, okay, let's burn everything because we want the price to go to the moon. That's obviously a different mentality that a lot of people share, but that's not here happening in CRONOS. But it's always important to adjust. We see how the crypto POS engineer said we need the burn to adjust emissions. Now you're telling us that could be the other way around. So I think we're going to be hearing a lot from crypto that come from CRONOS, from POS, and that's totally fine as we adjust for the upcoming bull market. And also want to mention that lately I've been seeing the new users, right, unique users going higher. It was flat like forever. I mean, flat. I'm like, can't believe it. Why are people not coming to CRONOS? And we still continue sharing, making videos, comments, tweets. But I think what's going on right now, with CRONOS, it's increasing just a tiny bit, like a spike, and that brings us a little bit of excitement because I think there's a lot of utility and good news happening that we need that to continue. Now, that is to a point that you mentioned earlier about this exciting, more risky projects and that we have. And one of them, when I give a shout out to Corgi AI, to this meme coin community token from CRONOS that has captivated, I think a lot of the people into seeing their staking capabilities and what they have. Obviously, not financial advice whatsoever. It's just what we're seeing right now, and oftentimes you just have great chains, but only one token one project is the one driving the ice, and it's that similar to what happened with Bonk with Solana, similar what happened with Pepe with Ethereum this year alone. This happened 2023. Pepe Ethereum, Bonk Solana, Forky AI a little bit with CRONOS, and obviously just for fun speculation. But what do you think about that? This comes to the crypto users right now in a time where they want profits, liquidity, and finally, it seems that we could be having one here at CRONOS. People are liking it so far.
Yeah. So the numbers for the chain overall are looking pretty good. So one important metric is monthly active users, which kind of gives a more comprehensive picture of the size of the community than daily active users that vary a lot. So I think in October we were at 60,000, November 80,000, and in December we'll see, but we're already at 90,000. So it's pretty clear that we'll exceed 100,000.
Those are good news.
So yeah, so there are some metrics that are going up and up very significantly, right? It's more than 20% a month. Of course, so Corgi AI has contributed to it, but inscriptions as well, of course. And also, I think it's important, like I said earlier, to recognize the contribution of Hibiscus Bay and the NFT collections. I was just looking at the league tables on the Hibiscus Bay website just today, and looking at the 7-day volumes of NFT collections, Ryoshi Tales, Mad Meerkat, Izanami, Chronos Bull Finance, Crooks Legends, Boomer Squad, Digipals, thousands of transactions in 7 days. I think that's quite impressive, and it shows that there are still pockets of innovation.
Agree, completely agree. I want to talk also about AI because, like I've said, you have, I think, a strong opinion on that one and how we are using it here on CRONOS. And for all my audience, I have this for you. You won't be able to see it, sorry, Ken, but here my audience sees is what 600 startup applications tell about blockchain and AI all in 2024. And this is something that Ken had a chance to jump in. Artificial intelligence made the biggest impact in the world in 2023. Let's go back to Ken. There you go. We would like to hear about that. And what are your thoughts and how will AI really help the blockchain world and even CRONOS in this much very important time where things are moving ahead, for the pros in AI, for the negative in AI, because they're also using my face to scam people, sad but true. But this is just what's happening, and it's sad. And I tell my audience, be careful with those AI. We see the XRP watch ads that YouTube cannot delete. So the good, the bad, what do you think?
There's going to be a lot of bad for sure when it comes to bots that have a quasi-human behavior and trolls on social media platforms. So first of all, it's very important that everyone prepares for that flood of bots that's going to impact all of us during the bull market, and that everyone has the tools to respond and manage it. And part of the hopefully with the accelerator, we'll also find some startups who can help with that. Secondly, when I look at the other side of the coin and I look at opportunities, so it's important to realize that primarily the revolution that we're going through is a revolution around large language models, as everyone knows. So it's not all AI, right? There are some fields in AI that are not progressing quite as fast. Risk management, fraud detection, computer vision, self-driving. Those things continue to progress, but have not undergone revolutions this year. So what has undergone a revolution are large language models, meaning chatbots. And so I'm very bullish about chatbots in general. And so in 2023, there was a huge was marked by the success of Telegram bots that are used primarily as sniping tools to take advantage of price disparities in NFTs and in tokens. I think Telegram bots in general, true language models are going to be even bigger and more important in 2024, enabling better user experiences. And we certainly hope that many projects on CRONOS will take advantage of that. And finally, one of the reasons why we're interested in AI is also because the startups that have an AI component in their infrastructure tend to attract more funding. And of course, being very realistic, for an ecosystem like CRONOS to be successful and for an accelerator to be successful, we need projects who are able to get VC funding. The primary goal of the accelerator is to enable projects to raise money from VCs and institutional investors, in addition to funds from the community, which can be hard these days for blockchain startups. And so we think that, of course, having an AI component in their business model makes startups more attractive. And so that's the ultimate goal is to bring more VC money to the CRONOS ecosystem overall.
Appreciate that, Ken. Thank you so much. And as we are coming to the end of our questions here, soon I'm gonna ask my audience if you have any questions for Ken. A few Q&A at the end, and that's it. Ken, as I think most of us know, NFTs are crucial and important for CRONOS and for Crypto.com. And while that comes to my mind is the Dark Lions. A fun question here. Did you get some? And what do you think about this new collection that is coming to Crypto.com, which I think has a lot of people very excited. I got some. I see a lot of people really happy about it because definitely it's going to have an impact into what more people come, not only to Crypto.com, but also to CRONOS.
Yeah, I have some. I like to keep my ear to the ground and check out what's happening in the community. However, I'll be perfectly frank. I'm not. I'm neither a passionate nor talented player when it comes to card games, strategy games, and all those things that are being built around NFTs. In our team, we have some people who are truly passionate about that and really understand the market well. I'm thinking about Jay, I'm thinking about Ricardo. So I listen to them a lot when it comes to driving the way that we support games. I myself, I'm not an expert, but I know that they're very passionate about what's happening in this community. And I trust that if they're saying that, it's indeed that there's a lot of potential.
Appreciate that, Ken. There's a lot of potential, and now hopefully a lot of us are going to be very happy on January the 5th. I believe that's when the reveal is. So big props to Crypto.com and what's ahead, because like we're talking about, there's never going to be a place where we're going to be pleasing everyone. And I'm just an spectator as an ambassador, but you guys that are building, updating us. And so all the communication open, right? Now, 2023, crazy year. It's not over. It will be over in a few days, but can you describe us in one sentence what this year was? And once you do that, if you can, for 2024, what are the expectations for this blockchain as people are looking into investing in crypto?
When it comes to summarizing 2023, I touched on it at the beginning. So I'd say, no need to sugarcoat it. I'm disappointed, but hopeful. and I'm keeping the faith. As for what's going to happen in 2024, right now it looks like interest rates are going to go down. We're going to have the Bitcoin halving. The stance of the US government is probably not going to change, and the wars are probably not going to stop. So there's going to be a combination of positive and negative factors. But overall, I'm hopeful that starting in the middle of the year, we're going to have a new cycle of adoption, and that's going to completely transform the level of conviction and optimism that people have when they look at CRONOS and at crypto. So I think CRONOS is well positioned to take advantage of that uptick. The partnership with crypto.com is particularly crucial, I think, because crypto.com is one of the most regulated crypto exchanges in the world, and I think it's important to have regulated touch points to the banking system. It's absolutely crucial that when people want to take their gains out of blockchains, they don't get questions from their banks that they can't answer. So I think we're well positioned to take advantage of the uptick, but even more, grow even more thanks to that partnership with crypto.com. And in terms of what's going to happen with dApps, I think that as we discussed, there are lots of innovations that still need to happen. Lots of innovations around chatbots, around yield-bearing tokens, account abstraction, the zkVM, all the ecosystem that is going to be built around VVS v3. So there's a lot of exciting things that will keep us on our toes and will keep us interested.
We're bullish. I think at the end of the day, we're here, like you said, disappointed but hopeful. And as a community, we see the work. We're gonna be talking, and we're gonna be loud and clear, and as how we'll continue growing. Right. This is the time, everybody, for Q&A. A few questions for Ken from the community on the chat. Right now, we have over 170 people watching. Thank you so very much for all of you. Forget to smash the like button to let everybody know here to come in and listen to the builder, our star guest. Not me, you watch me every day, some of you guys. So we want to hear from Ken. I have a question here, and obviously, just it's the community, right? So you want to expand as long or as short as you want. That's please feel free. It says Oscar and Ken, thanks for the opportunity to discuss our favorite CRONOS ecosystem. My question is, how can we get Tectonic and VVS listed on more exchanges, and also CRO on Binance before the bull run? What comes to mind with that?
That's really a question for those projects to answer. In general, if you just look at Twitter and the announcement channels of exchanges around the world, you see that they're not aggressively listing more tokens. That's the least I can, that's pretty obvious. Most of them are delisting pairs. Many of them are waiting to see how the regulatory environment is going to shape up in the respective geographies. So I think it's important to be patient. Patient, but hopeful. I guess that's as much as I can say about that, and as much as I know about that.
Thank you, Ken. I mean, the community, it's colorful questions, so no worries. I have another one here.
But you've been in crypto long enough that you know that when it pours, it rains, and by contrast, when there's a drought, it's absolutely extreme. So I'm again hopeful that good news are going to be initially quite rare. We've had a few already, but when they're going to start trickling down, just good news are not going to stop, and it's going to be beautiful to watch.
Agree. I have another question here. Ray V asks, ask him why the big boys like SushiSwap, PancakeSwap, Bird Finance, Uniswap, Aave, Compound are not on Chronos. That will bring lots of attention and credibility to Chronos.
Those projects. So at this point, though it's not clear that those projects, which are quite mature, would bring a lot of incremental growth to Chronos. And by contrast, you have to realize that like what drives everything in crypto are token incentives, yield incentives. Nothing happens without crypto incentives. And so in general, without commenting on specific situations, having a big project that is quite mature coming to Chronos could mean that it doesn't bring many new users and consumes a lot of demands allocations in terms of token incentives that are depriving the rest of the ecosystem from investments. In general, when you look at the impact that Sushi has had on other chains, it's not dramatic at all. So we're constantly talking to projects and trying to find win-win deals with them, but it's not a silver bullet to just get those projects to set up shop on Chronos. You need to find something really innovative to drive active user, the number of active users and the TVL up by a meaningful margin.
Appreciate that. I mean, not because you spread out to all blockchains means that you're going to have the same TVL on each one of them, right? I mean, people already have on Ethereum or on other different ones, Arbitrum, and they're like, okay, that's fine. And it's challenging, right? And I see, right, how multi-chain, just to give an example, Beefy, hopefully I'm pronouncing it right, but that one, it's spread out so many places, and I see it's on Chronos as well. So we want to see, also the growth, and there's a lot of different decisions made by our protocols, Tectonic, BVS, that some of my favorite ones. Perfect.
In general, what makes or breaks the success of a chain is indeed native projects more. I think Arbitrum, we're incredibly lucky to have GMX, and I dreamed that GMX would have chosen Chronos instead of Arbitrum. But yeah, usually it's more native projects that drive the success of a chain, and we have several strong ones, and we need to keep building.
Yeah, I mean, if I want to put myself in your shoes, you're seeing a big project, and you're like, "Come on, we're here. We give you." I mean, we put up. I mean, and then boom, they go to Arbitrum, and Arbitrum rose like, I mean, wow, what a boom that was this year and last year. So. As long as crypto, and I think it will continue regardless, and I am so ready to see what's in store for us this coming year. Everyone watching, and any few last thoughts you want to share with over 100 people watching us that will be later on watching after this is over. As we end 2023, any final wishes you want to tell?
I definitely want to wish everyone a good holiday season. I'm very glad that we got a chance to do this right now. As you mentioned, it was scheduled for a long time, and we didn't know at the time that last week would be so eventful.
I know.
So it's a great opportunity to clear the air. I also want to reassure everyone that I and the team listen to all feedback, and we read everything that's happening in Discord and on Twitter thoughtfully and carefully. We usually do not respond to personal attacks, toxic attacks, or non-constructive feedback. So But that, it doesn't mean that we don't read it and don't take it into account. But yeah, so keep it going, and that's extremely useful for us.
Everyone watching, please go ahead and give a round to Ken, who came here. This is his third time in the Oscar Ramos channel. Thank you so very much, Ken, for coming in. And I'm sure this is going to be one of many that we have ahead, because the better days are ahead for us in the Chrono Chain ecosystem. And wow, excited. We'll continue learning. There's more big news coming up. I couldn't be more ready for Bitcoin halving. Now, I don't know, but there's two big asset managers that are posting ads about Bitcoin, and it's like, oh man, they're finally catching up. And I think all of that is gonna come eventually to us as well. Ken, thanks so much for coming, and I hope you enjoyed the rest of your day, and happy holidays, buddy. Thank you.
Thanks, Oscar. Great job. Bye.
Appreciate it. Thank you. There you have it, everybody. Another one. I want to say thank you to Ken for coming in once again to us for the third time. Thank you for all the 170 plus people watching. We do this because we care about blockchain, crypto, transparency. And at the end of the day, we are the cheerleaders, right? We're the ones doing the homework based on what the builders, the managers are doing. I'm not financial advice, everybody, but if you already waited years to be in this position, why would you leave right now? Makes no sense to me. I try to put on a suit. You know what's behind this, the CRONOS. But that's it, guys. Thank you so very much for coming. I think we got a few super chats. Thank you to all the members, my moderators, the questions, everything. Obviously, we could continue and on and on and on, but short period of time. Best way to end the year 2023. Thanks for watching. More updates coming up. Subscribe, like if you enjoyed this and want more. You know what to do. Links down below. Create your account on crypto.com. And I'll see you next time, everybody. Peace. Let's go, guys. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.